Hi, my name is Pastor Clay Lemberg, and I serve as the pastor of the United in Faith Parish, the United Methodist Churches of Burke and Herrick in South Central South Dakota. And it's my honor to welcome you to this series of videos where we'll be talking about the different days of Holy Week and the journey that Jesus took from the high and holy moment that we call Palm Sunday all the way to the cross and all the way to the tomb. We're going to be walking through how that happened, what transpired, what changed in the crowd's demeanor and attitude towards Jesus that led there where it had got to that point. That they were going from shouting their hosannas and saying, "God save us," to rather saying, "We have no king but Caesar," and crucify this Jesus. It's quite a journey. It's quite a story. So each day we're going to be having this short little message, this short little devotion on what happened during that day, or what we believe happened that day, and how it led to the cross. So yesterday in worship we celebrated the high and holy day called Palm Sunday during this season of Passover where Jerusalem was at its capacity and there was this triumphant moment where Jesus rode in and was identified and seen as the Son of God, as the one sent by the Father to be Messiah. And we saw how Jesus overturned those expectations. On the next day, we believe that Jesus went to the temple. And what Jesus saw at the temple so grieved his heart that he had no choice but to take some action. Because what would have been happening in the temple at that time is that every Hebrew believer would have been expected to be at that temple making a sacrifice. And for some, that meant bringing their sacrifice with them, but for others, that meant paying for an animal to sacrifice in the temple. The problem in the temple is that there was a currency system that didn't exist anywhere other than in the temple. And so people were forced to change money. And the exchange rate always favored the temple and never the people of God. And so when Jesus saw this practice, when Jesus saw the temple profiting on the backs of believers, he couldn't take it anymore. And so in Luke's gospel, we read that Jesus took action. This is chapter 19, verses 45 through 48. Then Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling things there. And he said, "It is written, 'My house shall be a house of prayer,' but you have made it into a den of robbers." Every day he was teaching in the temple. The chief priests, the scribes, and the leaders of the people kept looking for a way to kill him, but they did not find anything they could do, for all the people were spellbound by what they heard. This place is to be a house of prayer. You turn it into a den of robbers. So often we equate Jesus with the baby in the manger, or the man on the cross who put up no fight in his own defense. And that's not all of who Jesus was. Jesus believed very strongly that the temple was to be holy, and that things that were holy were not to be made profane in the ways that they were being used in that time. Jesus came to restore faith to the people of God, so that they wouldn't act like this. And seeing at the temple just was too much. Friends, this is to be a house of prayer. Our lives are to be houses of prayer. What is distracting us? Where is the clutter of our lives that isn't necessarily money changing and grifting people, but still isn't what God intended for us? Through these days of Holy Week, let us consider and let us be in prayer over what Jesus wants to clear out of our lives so that we can be more faithful to him. Would you pray with me? Jesus, we give you thanks for these actions you have taken, for the things that you have done, and how they show us the heart and the character of the nature of God, and truthfully what you expect of us. Forgive us for the places where we fall short, and clear out our clutter, and make way for faithful living. In your name we pray. Amen. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you tomorrow.